A rather overlooked weapon type in Fallout New Vegas is the throwable weapons category. Be it throwing knives, grenades, or spears, I find myself selling them or just straight up avoiding them entirely. Where a throwable weapon would still be in the air, you could have already shot your enemy dead, but regardless of my opinion, throwable weapons can, like most other weapons, actually kill your enemy. All except one, that is, which is the one we are using today. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas, but with only flashbangs? I really wouldn't be surprised if you had no idea they were in the game in the first place, and I can't blame you. They were cut from the base game, originally called stun grenades, and can only be found in the Lonesome Road DLC. They are most commonly found in the commissary terminals strewn across the divide, and at these commissary terminals, after you use Eddie to unlock them, they spawn in groups of 5, and if they don't have any, or run out, you can wait 3 in-game days to restock the vendor. Now the flashbangs themselves, yeah, they do next to no damage, but instead do fatigue damage. It is random for each flashbang, but it can do anywhere between 25 and 100 fatigue damage, varying each time. For those unaware, each NPC has a fatigue amount that you, the player, cannot see, but can affect if a weapon has the KO symbol in its description. It is similar to the health bar in the regard that when they reach 0 health, they die, but in this case, if they max out their fatigue bar, they just collapse mid-combat, unable to move or attack. Over time, they lose some of their fatigue, and will get back up eventually. Flashbangs also have a 25% chance to frenzy tunnelers, but since they are only found in the divide, that does not apply here. A few notes about the run. I can't use any permanent companions other than Eddie in the divide because I literally have no choice. Although when it comes to weapons, if there is something like Loyal's detonator or binoculars that not only A, don't fire a projectile, but B, also can't even hurt anyone, that is allowed. Armor and stim packs are allowed, of course. This run is already going to be hard enough without dying in every fight I get in. With that out of the way, let's begin. I started out knowing that I would hit myself with my own flashbangs more often than not, so I chose a name that I considered to be fitting. I made a character that prioritized perception for explosives and luck so I could get caps via gambling, and looted the good doctor's house before I sat on the couch. My tag skills were explosives, wanna guess why? Barter and sneak. And my traits were Wild Wasteland and Built to Destroy. I chose Built to Destroy because I figured the extra 3% critical chance and not using weapons that could degrade over time was a pretty good combo. I got my stuff from Doc Mitchell and entered the Wasteland. I went straight towards Good Springs General Store to sell the stuff that I couldn't use and made off towards the divide. On the way there, I looted Jean's skydiving and encountered a few hostile geckos in the distance. The powder gangers nearby didn't seem to really care or help me out in any way, which I may or may not have taken personally. I was rudely interrupted in the middle of my journey to the divide by the NCR soldiers standing outside of Prim. When I got to the canyon wreckage, I looted the surrounding area and finally entered the divide. Inside the missile silo, I got a good bit of loot, freed Eddie from his captivity, and had him activate the commissary terminal so I could actually buy the damn things. Now the next portion should be pretty straightforward, right? You buy them, wait 3 in-game days, buy them again. Well, it is for the most part, other than the fact that you are waiting for quite literal hours of your own life, and the fact that flashbangs aren't even guaranteed to be available in the commissary, meaning you have to wait another minute and 28 seconds to hope that they spawn. For those of you that might think I'm over-exaggerating this a bit, here's what getting 5 flashbangs takes. After buying my first round of flashbangs, I went to Prim to test the effectiveness of my new weapons on actual people, and to take care of the 2 convicts out front, it took 36 of my 55 I had to kill them both. This was the moment that I realized that certain parts of this run were going to be very, very irritating. Knowing that I did not have enough firepower to actually deal with the convicts guarding Deputy Beagle, I thought I might come back later and kill him when I was better prepared. On the way to Nipton, I had an idea. Flashbangs are explosives, and when you reverse pickpocket explosives into passive human NPCs, it kills them. I tested this on the convicts outside of the highway patrol station, and what do you know, it actually worked. This didn't have that great of an impact on my run, but it was worth mentioning. I marked the Mojave outpost on my map while I was near it, and picked up the quest from Ghost to check out Nipton. Outside of Nipton, I watched Jacqueline kill Thomas, so I crammed a flashbang into what little clothing she had on, and watched her pop due to the power of a bright light and a loud sound. I considered killing Oliver, but I thought since I didn't have that many flashbangs that it would be too costly. I may or may not have attempted to reverse pickpocket a powder ganger, although that is up for you to decide. I got the quest Cold Cold Heart from Volpez and fast-traveled back to the Mojave outpost to finish the quests I had there. As I was making my way to Novak, I disarmed the frag mine under the cone and engaged the Vipers there. A nearby Legion patrol did not care about the bandits attacking me, so I had to deal with them myself. I was even considering doing a Legion run, but this convinced me otherwise. I looted Wolfhorn Ranch since I was around it, and restarted my game because I noticed it had begun to stutter, which is very commonplace on the PC version of Fallout New Vegas. When I got back in, it wasn't but a few seconds until Malcolm Holmes came up from behind me.
Name's Malcolm. Malcolm Holmes.
This genuinely startled me, so after finishing the enforced conversation, I stuck an aptly named flashbang, which flashed and banged him to death. Further along, another group of Vipers started chasing me, and seeing as how I was low on flashbangs, I decided to run along with the hopes of some sort of benevolent NPC helping me out. Another group of Legion decided to pussy out, so I hoped the ranger at Camp Charlie would help me out instead, which they did. I looted the few fallen bandits that I could and made my leave before I myself was attacked. I did quite literally nothing in Novak and instead made my way to Boulder City. There I tried to flashbang the memorial, which proved difficult to do without the Kowalski hostile. So instead I continued on and convinced Jessup to let the hostages go and had the commanding officer kill the cons. I continued my journey and made it to Freeside. There I made a beeline for the Atomic Wrangler so I could put my high luck to good use and gamble. I got the jackpot on my first try, which was certainly helpful. I went to the strip entrance, passed the credit check, and watched some thugs get absolutely massacred. I went to Mick and Ralph's to sell some of my loot and buy naughty nightwear to give me an edge when I go to the casinos on the strip in the future. I fast-traveled back to the Divide to restock on flashbangs. After purchasing a litany of about 100, I went back to Prim to save Deputy Beagle. Inside, one of the convicts shot a flashbang out of the air. It didn't save him, but it was kinda cool. I went to heal in the sheriff's house and found Lucas Sims's outfit, which I took. Back at the Bison Steve Hotel, I tried brute force, which did not work. I tried stealth, that didn't work either. I instead decided on freeing Beagle and allowing him a chance to get revenge on his captors. I looted what I could, sold it to Johnson Nash, and used the Science magazine to reprogram Prim Slim to be sheriff. I fast-traveled back to the strip and went into the Gomorrah to continue to satisfy my gambling addiction. Midway into my gambling spree, I was interrupted by the Gomorrah floor manager who gave me mentats and managed to crash my game. On my second try, literally nothing went wrong. I was even given a set of combat armor Mark II as a reward from the floor manager, which definitely made up for the crashing. I was finally kicked out of the casino and went to the Tops next. When I was kicked out of there, I made my way to the Ultralux, which I noticed had a higher cap for gambling, which was pretty neat. At the end of my gambling spree, I had just under 36,000 caps, which would definitely be able to supply me with as many flashbangs and stim packs as my heart desires. I went back to the Divide to buy enough flashbangs to finish the run. I bought another 100 flashbangs and didn't have to buy any for the rest of the game. I went back to the strip to accept the terms of 1,000 caps for the platinum chip, because it was at this point I decided to do a Mr. House run. I went to the Tops and had a chat with Benny, but not a high enough speech skill to convince him to go into his suite alone. In his suite, I convinced him to not kill me. Outside of the Tops, I had a chat with Volpez, and he gave me the Mark of Caesar. I didn't want to go to the fort just yet, though, and instead made my way to the NCR Correctional Facility. There I began the quest. I fought the law, and I used speech to convince Chavez to get out while he can, the mercenary that his idea is stupid, and Johnson Nash to tell me the NCR is planning an attack on the facility. It was then I remembered how the powder gangers from earlier did not help me with the geckos outside of their camp and proceeded to side with the NCR. After the attack began, I made it inside the administration building to deal with Eddie. I definitely overestimated my combat effectiveness, though. After chucking a few flashbangs into the fray, I left the building to see if I could heal up. And this happened. After dealing with the powder gangers, I fast-traveled to Wolfhorn Ranch and made off towards Cottonwood Cove by way of Camp Searchlight. Aside from a lone ghoul, the journey was fine, and after having a chat with Cursor Lucullus, I made it inside the fort. Caesar gave me the platinum chip, thinking that I would destroy whatever is in the bunker. After descending into the bunker, I was curious on just how many flashbangs it would take to destroy a Protectron, which turned out to be 19, equivalent to roughly 1,400 caps. I then hotkeyed Stimpaks and ran through the rest of the Protectrons and sentry turrets until I activated the Securitrons at the end. Caesar let me decide Benny's fate, and seeing as how A, he shot me in the fucking skull, B, he was going to set me up back at the tops, and C, he was in control of the tops and stopped my gambling spree, I crucified him with absolutely no regrets.
You sick, vindictive fuck!
I fast-traveled to Freeside to purchase a few Stimpaks as I had used most of mine to make it through the bunker. Afterwards, I gave Mr. House the platinum chip and watched his test bench of the updated Securitrons in his basement. Continuing the main story, House wants me to either ally with or eliminate the leaders of the Boomers. But as I left the Lucky 38, I was approached by someone from the Followers of the Apocalypse, and they wanted me to bug a terminal inside of the Lucky 38. I went in and, well, bugged the terminal. I left and got 500 XP. Now I made my way towards the Boomers' territory and had a chat with George. Upon my dismissal of his wager, he was extremely saddened and committed suicide by running into the artillery's line of fire. With minimal damage and began volare. I repaired the solar panels, went through the tour of the museum, and united Jack with his crush. After having Loyal give me the ballasts and getting the rebreather from Jack, I went for a swim in Lake Mead, attached the ballast to the bomber plane, made it to shore, and used the detonator, which allowed me to ally with the Boomers. I consider using the detonator not a violation of the run, because the detonator cannot be used to injure anyone. Next, House wants me to investigate the Omertas and stop their conspiracy against him. After showing Kachino's own journal, getting Troik out of his contract and using his thermite to destroy some weaponry, and obliterating Clandon, Nero and Big Sal were justifiably displeased, to which I then flashed them to death. Next, Mr. House, the person with hordes of advanced technology, wants me to eliminate the weird cult people who like taking all technology because they believe it to be theirs. After encountering the Brotherhood for the first time, they wanted me to deal with Dobson, a ranger who was in a nearby bunker hunting powder gangers. The only problem was he wasn't there. He was outside of the NCR correctional facility for some reason. Other than that, nothing else really changed. I pickpocketed the keycards from Elder McNamara, head Paladin Harkins, and the head scribe. I activated the self-destruct sequence and ran out, spamming Stimpaks before they could do anything about it. House wanted me to protect President Kimball, but since I really hadn't helped the NCR that much, he just sent me off to the El Dorado power station. I ran across the desert, saw my Pip-Boy look a little funny, inserted the override chip, and fast-traveled away before the NCR could do anything about it. After stocking up on some Stimpaks, I reported back to Mr. House and finished The House Always Wins and began the final quest, All or Nothing. The Securitrons at the dam were able to make quick work of the Legion that were in firing range. I talked the NCR troopers out of their position and installed the override chip into the dam. After receiving my orders from House, I pelted 2 Legionnaires with a few dozen flashbangs and powered on the Securitron army. The Centurions at the end were very weak for no particular reason and allowed the Securitrons there to make quick work of them. Inside the Legate's camp, I stunned the Praetorians around the Legate and talked him into going back east. A Praetorian told me that I assassinated Kimball, which I found funny, and I used another speech check to convince General Oliver to leave peacefully, successfully beating— Hold on, okay? I think we can all agree that that ending is both too easy and too boring. So I loaded the autosave from entering the Legate's camp and proceeded to try to defeat the Legion with only flashbangs. Sure, I had cheat in an extra 600 on top of the 50 I already had, but I already beat the game legitimately, so it didn't matter anyway. It took about 35 minutes and a bit under 500 flashbangs to kill the entirety of the Legate's camp, and I'm pretty sure I hit myself with at least half of them. It wasn't very difficult, however, because in the first minute they had all fallen over due to fatigue damage, and if anyone got back up, I put them right back down. After they were dealt with, I tried to do the same with General Oliver and the Rangers, but the Securitrons killed them before I could even attack. There we have it, folks. Not only did I beat the game with only flashbangs, but also the final fight with the Legate and his Legion minions. Seeing as how this is my first ever video, and you probably liked it if you have been watching long enough to hear this portion, I would greatly appreciate a like, or even a subscription if you are feeling especially benevolent. If you have any criticism that could better shape my future content, be sure to leave a comment. Have a good one, man.